Today we have this wonderful pile of Lego bricks, and with these, we're going to be making a classic Macintosh. And before we actually jump right into the building of it, we should probably sort out all these pieces so it's a little bit nicer to look at, and it'll definitely make it a little bit easier to start building it. So I have sorted all the pieces, and well, it's not exactly a perfect job. It will help with the actual building process, and Lego, just like technology, is something that I really like, and a technology-related Lego build is a really cool combination. The device helping us out today is a first-generation iPad, and the model comes from this website, from a guy called Chris McVeigh, and he makes a lot of really cool models. They're not official Lego models, but there's a lot of them and they're really nice. And the one we're making today is the My First Computer Byte Edition. It's not called an actual Macintosh or something like that, but it's clearly modeled after one. And I guess we should just start building. So the iPad is going to have to be off screen since there's just not enough space within the frame. And I will say, I know other YouTubers have done similar construction videos out of the models, but this is my take on it. I figured it would be a more fun, relaxed type of video since it's building with Lego and it's creating a classic Macintosh at the same time. So I thought it would be fun to share this time building the actual model and make a fun, relaxed video out of it. So let's actually begin the construction. And first off, it's telling us to do this, and I already messed up since it's supposed to be on the bottom side. So this model appears to be, it's definitely a classic Macintosh, but it's not using the design language with the lines. So that leads me to believe that it has to be either a very early Macintosh or something like a Macintosh Classic, since it's a very simple design. It's something that is certainly iconic. And what do I know about the classic Macintosh, or at least just a normal Macintosh? Probably not as much as I should. So this is going to be a bit of a longer video since at the same time I'm going to be talking to you guys. I have to focus on the actual instructions, and it's finding the pieces as well. So sorry if this longer content is a tad bit boring, but I figured it would be a fun video to do. Now, I will say this set comes with, or at least there's a special piece you can get where it has the microcontroller, or the CPU. I do not have said printed chip, but hopefully a blank tile will suffice. Now it's not going to be as cool, but at the same time it's not that visible within the end result. And my excellent sorting technique has failed me already. Maybe I should have not put the pieces within the stand of this, since it's difficult to find anything. So normally there would be the printed piece that goes right here, but I cannot remember which piece was the replacement for that, and whatever piece is left over will be the piece for that. Since there aren't any extras, so that should make it pretty obvious. Very professional, I know. You think I would have thought this out more, but I guess not. And the sorting has yet again failed me, as I have completely forgotten where I put these pieces. So the Macintosh, I mean, it's something. I know it's sold pretty well. It's not exactly a record breaker in deals or the actual units sold, but it is very significant since, I mean, iMacs to this day still follow same basic elements because it's the computer and the monitor. It's an all-in-one. And alright, so this part, yeah, this has to be the front part. This is where the keyboard would plug in. I do know that they used, it was like a phone jack, but I do know it used a proprietary connector for the keyboard, which is why it's very expensive to get one. And at times you could probably pay more for the keyboard than the computer itself. And the classic Macintosh was very underpowered for what it did. I mean, it was very impressive, but it was a tad bit underpowered, and it didn't exactly break any. Well, I mean, it did have a GUI, and I cannot read the instructions apparently. And this is definitely going to be a pretty cool model once it is built. It would be cool to sometimes just have it in the background, since, I mean, it's a Lego model of a Macintosh. Alright, next up we need more pieces that I cannot find. It was blending in with the desk. That's why I couldn't find it. I will say it's pretty funny how modern iMacs still use the same type of stand that came with the display here, the cinema display, since, well, at the same time, that's where I'm trying to look for the pieces, but it is pretty much the same, except that it's not like a solid piece. On newer ones it's more tapered, but they haven't changed it except to save some aluminum. And this is definitely going to turn out to be a long video. I also apologize if there are any random noises, since my chair can do that sometimes as I move, and it can get annoying. Alright, so far we have, so this is the motherboard, or it appears to be part of the motherboard anyways, and this appears to be the front. And nothing else other than that. This is probably where the I/O would be if nothing else covers that up. And oh, this is a pretty interesting part. So this piece, this red piece, goes right here. Now if that piece was actually a printed Apple logo, that would make it even more cooler, but I do not have one. Alright, so it seems to be, this is now going to be the beginning of the floppy drive. So it's its own little separate thing. Well, this just seemingly disappeared. I had to actually get a different one because I have no idea where it went. And if it pops up later, then we know. But I actually, yeah, I don't know where it went. So at least we can continue building now. So this is going to be part of the floppy drive assembly, or it basically is. It's more of a structural piece though, since you can't actually put in a mini floppy disk or anything like that. It is really cool how they make these models though, since, I mean, you just have to basically mess around with Lego until it just works. It's probably way more in depth than that, but at the end of the day, it's still Lego, and it would be pretty fun, but at the same time, probably a lot of work and a lot of creativity to make the pieces do what you want. So this is like kind of the floppy disk assembly, and it goes right there, and it's just like on Macs basically, where the other one side is just a bit bigger than the rest. It's actually a pretty cool way of how it was made, and it definitely looks much nicer than just a normal cutout. And after that, we need more tile pieces. Do you guys also do this where you try to, like, if you have a 1x1 tile and it's like slightly slanted, you try to straighten it out so it is in line with the other pieces? Because even though it's not necessary, it's just a little bit more satisfying to do that. So this is what I believe to be the actual CRT, I think, because it's using all these pieces, and I think that's what the actual thing is made out of, or at least the body of the screen. So it's basically just making like 2 layers of this part with the base and a top piece. And it looks like the same thing it started out with is going to be the top part, or at least very similar. Alright, now turn it like this. And this is a pretty interesting part. So these sloped pieces is making the actual back part of the CRT. And that is actually a pretty cool way of making it, because it's more CRT shaped. And this is also really cool. It's making the neck, I believe. That's what they were called. The actual back part of the CRT, where it gets connected to all the video circuitry. Yeah, right there. And it's even a translucent piece, which is how it is on actual CRTs, which is really cool to see. And this top part, or at least the front side, these are where the Technic pins come in. And I thought I lost them for a second. Alright, so this is probably one of the cooler parts of the build, where it's more complete. That's the really cool part about this build, where it's not all one piece. I mean, the floppy drive technically is part of the main construction, but stuff like this, the actual CRT, like it's its own piece. It goes into the actual body, but it's still separate from the construction. And now it goes in like this. It is still kind of structural, since it would be pretty difficult to build without. But it's starting to form, and now it needs these ones here. And apparently I can't read the instructions. These need an extra 1x1 on the bottom, as the screen pops out. And okay, there it goes. Now we line this up. So this is like the framed portion of it. But it doesn't connect until you add these sloped pieces. At least it should. Alright, there it is. So that's how the screen stays in place. I know there's also a lot of different models that are on the same webpage. There's like an Apple II, there's the IBM 5150. I think that's the specific model anyways. There's like just generic towers, and this is now a different piece. This looks like the analog board. And again, it is a different or a separate piece, so it'll slot in kind of like a actual card or something. And it's also really cool since it has the actual sloped part, just like an actual analog board. And all the components go on here. There's also these light blue cyan, not Scion. Scion, the car company. There's also a lot of these pieces, or not a lot, just a couple of the studs, but pretty interesting color right there. And these pieces, they are like, well, they're Lego levers, but I believe they're trying to replicate like cables or something, some short ones that go across the board. So it has it going like this, and this one goes vertically. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. And it goes in here. So it is, again, like a modular piece. And okay, so this goes right here. Just like an actual Macintosh, it's cramped in here. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so these don't actually go on the board. It's designed to make it look like they're connected to the CRT. So this would be where it goes on the actual body of the tube, and this is probably for the connector itself. Okay, so this has to be, I'm gonna assume that this part is going to be part of the, or it's gonna be the body, I believe. Oh, and this is where these pieces go in. And I messed up. Since these pieces are pretty unique, one side goes horizontally, the other side goes vertically. Gotta make sure they all line up. But that looks pretty cool. You could probably get a lot more detail if you want to make something like an SC30, where it has all those lines. You could probably make something like that if you had more of these pieces, or if you just had, you made something kind of like this, where it just goes out throughout that. That would probably be a bit more difficult to implement, since it's not a smooth body. And yeah, it's very interesting how older Macs in general, how easy it is to get inside. You do need the special screwdriver, or at least some sort of longer screwdriver to open it. That's a pretty good inconvenience to have for a computer that is very convenient. Also, sorry if you don't see some of the construction, if it's off frame, off screen, since sometimes I might forget. And the housing is getting pretty close to done. It's not done yet, but I mean, it's getting pretty close. I would also like to make more of these in the future, because they are very cool to have. This part here is like the badging, so like the information basically. So that's pretty cool. That would again be the Apple logo, and then that could be the product identifier, the name. And the housing is almost done. Only a couple pieces, or like a whole top part left. Alright, so now it's making a separate thing. And now we get to use some of these tiles. And it's actually getting pretty close to being made, or fully complete. Alright, so this goes here, and after that, two more pieces here. Alright, another little mini thing. Oh, okay. Looking for a piece that I already used on this, since it flipped it. Okay, and more of these tiles. Okay, so this is pretty cool. That basically makes the handle. Oh, and of course, wait a second. Ah yes, destroying the construction. It seems that I have missed a piece. I missed two pieces here. That makes much more sense now. So these go here. And And then we're left with these, I think. Yes. And that is a, oh yeah, look at that amazing construction. That is actually very nice. And trying to align these, so it looks pretty nice. You know, for something that doesn't have, well, I guess that is a little bit weak, but it's definitely structurally sound. It's not gonna like implode if you press on it. Okay, so this is the open side. Got this part here. You could probably go as far as to make some sticker or something where you have the signatures on the inside. But again, I guess it depends on what you want to build it or base the build off. Oh, okay, that's it. So this part is complete. The housing is complete, and now we combine. Okay, that's actually a bit more difficult than I thought. Look at that. It's a Lego Macintosh. How cool is that? That is very awesome to see. This is a really nice little build right there. Now you might be wondering what's with all these extra pieces. Well, I mean, how are you going to use the computer if you don't have an input device, right? So these are for that, basically. And now we can bring in the pieces. So this first part, I believe, yeah, this has to be the keyboard because it's the long piece. And wow. Okay, I thought I messed it up, but I just needed another piece. Okay. These pieces go here. More tiles. Something about these big tiles, it's just pretty satisfying. But those go there. We got some 1x2s. More of these. And then this one. These are called jumper pieces or jumper plates, if you didn't know. And the way you call any piece basically is length by width basically. So this would be like a 1x3 plate, I think it was plate. 1x2 jumper, and then okay, so 2x4 in the center, and then you got the other matching pieces. Look at that. It's the keyboard. It's not done though. As I hold it, I think it's like this. This is the right way up. Yeah, because it there should be like the little stand part so you can, or so it props up naturally. These go here. Actually, this might be right, because I think I know why it's like this. For a second I was worried we didn't place something in the right spot, but it's for these. Okay, these go here. Yeah. Okay, so it is like this on purpose, and I will show you right now. So we get one of these pieces. So this is like this, and then you take the Mac, plug that in there, and you're connected. And then all that's left is you still gotta have the mouse. So this is a bit concerning. Let's double check something. Okay, so guess we could place it there. Okay, so that must have been missing. Alright, so now we're on to the mouse. And this one's just very simple. It's not the perfect blocky shape as the actual mice. But it does have the cable attached to it. It's got the tan piece. It's got this on it. And why do we have 3 extra pieces? Okay, so this was the replacement for that CPU piece. As for these two, I'm gonna have to double check the construction. But there it is. Look at that. Now, I think that, yeah, this is not long enough, so there is an extra piece here to connect it to the rear. But there it is, look at that. Classic Macintosh setup. And it's done. Here is the finished product. It is a very cool Mac model, and if there are custom like printed on pieces, not just stickers, but even like printed ones of the actual Apple logo, that would be really cool. And maybe even something to say it's like just a Macintosh or a Mac 128K or something like that. And I got all the missing pieces into the thing. It was just like 2 pieces that were missing, but it's all in place now, and it definitely is a really cool model for how small it is. I mean, it's still a pretty big model, but it is Lego, and for this it's pretty small. And it's done. There it is. There is kind of a reason why I chose this, and as you can see, it's a Macintosh Classic. I sometimes forget how compact these really are for their age. It's still definitely big. It's got this huge CRT in it. A computer this size and a built-in display, even though it's not all that big, it still is a compact Mac. So here they are. They're both opened, and now we can see what's actually on the inside. Now I would really like to use this if I can. And ooh, CRT. This hasn't been powered on for a long time, and the reason why is because I have tried to power it on, but of course there was corrosion on the motherboard because the battery did leak, and it even got the frame pretty extensively, so I had to take the whole thing out and clean it as best as I can. And this was before I actually started making videos. So I've had this for a long time, and I would really like to get this working, but for now it's more just to show and compare with this. It is still pretty similar. I mean, for a model, it's very, very nice. There's the analog board there, and I would say for something that would otherwise just be closed up within the model, it still has a lot of detail, and that's where the bottom part, the I/O, goes on the casing here. So this is the end of the video. We made the model, and one particular reason why I chose to make this model is because, well, it looks cool, and I do also have this Mac to show you guys at least something vaguely similar to the internals, and I would say this model gets the job done. I hope you guys like this more longer, relaxed type of video where we just made a Lego model. And if you guys have any more suggestions of what you want me to build next, of course if I have the pieces for it and I can make it, then I would definitely like to make it. And these would just definitely be cool additions to have in future videos, or just to have on display, since they are really cool. And I think the first model, at least to start off with, it's definitely a very cool model. And of course, Macintosh Classic. So if you guys want to join the Discord or subreddit, there's links in the description down below. And again, if you want to support the channel, that's definitely cool. And thanks for watching.